Every worm keeper dreams of a system that produces more worms, richer castings, and faster soil transformation with almost no extra cost. After years of testing different feeds, additives, and microbial boosters, one method stood out so dramatically that it seemed almost too simple to be real. Crushed rice, yes, ordinary white rice ground into coarse powder, turned out to be one of the most reliable, powerful, and worm-safe accelerators I've ever used. It doesn't just feed worms, it supercharges the microbial community, increases cocoon production, fattens adult worms, and transforms sluggish bedding into a living engine of decomposition. Once you understand why it works, how to apply it, and exactly how much to use, you'll see why this forgotten old-world trick produces results that feel almost unfair. Understanding why crushed rice works begins with the biology inside your worm system. Worms don't digest whole food scraps directly. Their real diet is the microbial bloom that colonizes those scraps as they break down. Crushed rice provides the perfect type of carbohydrate to accelerate that microbial bloom. Because the rice is broken into tiny, irregular fragments, the surface area increases dramatically, allowing bacteria and fungi to colonize it almost immediately. Whole rice kernels don't work nearly as well because they take too long to soften and often ferment unevenly. When you crush the rice, you're giving microbes a pre-shattered buffet that hydrates quickly and doesn't clump. Within 24 hours of adding it to a bin, the bedding becomes warmer, more fragrant, and visibly more active. Worms gather around the crushed rice zones in tight clusters, and within days you begin noticing increased movement, faster feeding, and more cocoon production. The second secret of crushed rice is the balance of energy it releases into the system. Many worm keepers make the mistake of feeding overly rich materials, fruit, sugary scraps, or molasses-based liquids that send the microbial population into chaotic overdrive. This type of sudden bloom often leads to sour bedding, anaerobic pockets, and stressed worms. Crushed rice releases its carbohydrates slowly. It hydrates quickly, but breaks down gradually, giving microbes a predictable and stable food source. This is the primary reason worms respond so strongly. They thrive in conditions where microbe activity stays elevated but steady. Too much sugar pushes them away. Too little food slows reproduction. Crushed rice hits the biological sweet spot. The method for preparing crushed rice is simple, but the results depend heavily on the texture. Pour dry white rice into a mortar, blender, spice grinder, or even a sturdy bag and crush it into coarse granules. The aim is a range of textures, some dust-like particles, some coarse bits the size of tiny breadcrumbs, and a few larger rice fragments. This variation gives microbes multiple feeding speeds. Rice dust sparks fast activity within hours. Medium pieces power the system for a week. The few bigger fragments ensure long-term microbial food without causing spikes. If the crushed rice resembles flour, you've gone too fine. It will clump and ferment too quickly. You want a rustic grind, not a powder. Applying crushed rice correctly is what turns a good method into a shockingly effective one. The baseline ratio that works in almost every worm bin is 1 tablespoon of crushed rice per gallon of bedding. For a standard indoor bin, that usually means 2 to 4 tablespoons per feeding cycle. Rather than dumping it in one spot, scatter it lightly across the top layer and gently rake it into the upper inch of bedding. This distributes it evenly and prevents moisture pockets. In outdoor beds or windrows, you can safely use a heavier ratio, up to 1 cup per square foot of surface area, because airflow is far better outside. After adding crushed rice, lightly mist the area with water until it reaches that wrung-out sponge moisture level. This hydration is crucial because crushed rice begins breaking down only when moisture activates the starches. Within days, the transformation in worm activity becomes noticeable, especially for keepers with struggling systems. Worms move faster, surface more frequently, and gather in groups that indicate high comfort and feeding intensity. Cocoons appear more frequently in the bedding. and they tend to hatch quickly because conditions remain stable rather than cycling between microbial booms and crashes. Over a month of consistent use, bins treated with crushed rice develop a rich, coffee ground texture that signals balanced microbial life and excellent casting formation. Worms become plumper because they're eating continuously, not waiting for scraps to break down. The soil benefits go far beyond worm reproduction. Once those castings move into the garden, they bring with them a microbial density far higher than castings produced in low-energy or poorly fed worm systems. That's because crushed rice encourages microbial diversity. Bacteria dominate early in the breakdown, but as the medium pieces soften, fungal threads begin colonizing the bedding. A worm bin with a balanced bacterial and fungal community produces castings that improve soil structure, root penetration, and nutrient cycling far more efficiently than castings made from fruit scraps alone. Gardeners who use crushed rice-fed worm castings often see faster seedling establishment, deeper color in leaves, and stronger resistance to drought stress. One question gardeners often ask is whether crushed rice attracts pests. When applied correctly, it does not. The key is hydration and incorporation. Dry rice can attract ants. Properly moistened, crushed rice invites microbes instead. If you sprinkle it lightly and mix it into the bedding, it becomes part of the ecosystem instantly. Over-applying or leaving it in thick piles can cause fermentation hotspots, but following the correct ratios eliminates this risk entirely. The most impressive part is that this method works across species. Red wigglers, European nightcrawlers, and African nightcrawlers all respond positively. Red wigglers show the fastest reproductive increase, while African nightcrawlers respond with the most dramatic growth in body size. European nightcrawlers show improved cocoon production without the bedding compaction that sometimes follows heavy feedings. This is one of those rare tricks that costs pennies, takes minutes, and delivers results that feel almost instant. If you want more methods that genuinely transform your soil, your worms, and your garden, make sure to subscribe and share this video. Practical knowledge grows best when gardeners grow it together.